Hey everyone, of course in this episode we've got to look at the final. Australia versus USA, the World Games final, the biggest game in the 4-year ultimate calendar. Let's get into it. After a tough time working up the field on their first defensive point, Kat Phillips finds a great scoring option to a wide open Sam McGuckin, but he drops it, just closing his hands a little too early.
It was too easy for McGuckin.
Mickle picks it up and shoots a Mextra from the first pass, but the deep shot is overcooked. Unfortunately, the camera director doesn't quite give us the footage we need for this turn, so we can't be sure if there was a poach or if anything else interesting happened here. Again, there's such strong defensive pressure from the Americans. Prentice is reluctant to keep looking at her dumps, faking off Tillet and then Gan, and then continuing to look upfield instead of giving one of them the time to get free. She takes on the inside throw to the front of the stack to Kat Phillips, a pretty difficult option. And as Phillips reaches across, Opi Pay comes in and gets the block for the Americans. Phillips sets up this cut in such a way that the throw she's asking for is right into enemy territory. Either Phillips needs to space herself further away from Payne and Egan Griffiths, cut a different direction, or trust Egan Griffiths to get free herself. Even giving the thrower no option in the downfield space isn't the worst thing in the world, because hopefully that would induce them to look at the dump options. Payne does well to be aware of the situation and get the D without committing her body to the space, minimising the contact with Phillips.
Opi Pay says no, that's going to the ground.
Gan swings this a little too far, and Prentice could do better to put in a bid to save the disc. Both players share some blame for this one.
The receiver.
Phillips hits the deck on the second pass of the possession,
Pressure arrives.
and overshoots Karamar on the under.
Great determination, but another mistake.
There might be some complication with the crossover between Prentice and Mar. Perhaps Phillips wanted to put this one a bit wider to keep it away from Prentice's defender, or Mar slowing slightly, but principally it's just an errant throw. The Aussies opt for the zone look, and as the US swing around, Opi Pay takes a loopy OI backhand which Rob Andrews can attack up the inside lane and bat the disc away before Nate Goff can get there. You've got to always be careful when going over a zone. If the disc got to Payne quicker, or Karamar closed the angle slower, then the swing pass off the deck to Goff would be routine. But this throw has to be loopy, and Goff can't get there early enough with his feet in bounds. Clare Tropp turfs this simple backhand, has to be the pressure getting to her.
A mistake from Tropp under no pressure whatsoever has flicked it into the turf.
Clare Chastain this time shoots a little wide of Lindsley and the pitch. You've got to give a lot of credit to Sally Yu for coming off the mark and pushing the viable lane for this throw wider and wider, inducing the mistake from Chastain. On the replay it looks like Lindsay might have a shot at catching this if he held his body towards the disc instead of trying to change direction and run it down. However, these angles are hard to judge and the disc may not have been catchable. Freechild opts to start slowly from a Rob Andrews pull that balloons up, deliberately sacrificing yardage to make sure the defense is a factor on the first pass, no matter how fast the US start. Right as Freechild picks up the disc, Lados switches the force, pushing him to the sideline. Freechild pivots back and forth a few times and then catches Finney going up the line and throws to her hand, and Finney drops the disc. Finney goes up the line before she's engaged this dump, which is against the traditional principles, but not completely uncommon. For me, if you do engage yourself early as the dump, you have to get glaringly free, which Finney doesn't, and be ready enough to receive the disc abruptly, which Finney wasn't. Freechild's style is quite skittish as a thrower, compared to the likes of Tom Tillett. I think some throwers would be able to reject this option and find the big around pivot for a swing into the middle. There's also a poaching component to this play. Nate Goff has come into the underspace and is attacking the same space as Finney, leading Rob Andrews into the space, who ends up not directly getting involved, but is likely a body that Finney has to think about when making the catch, which makes it harder. There's a lot of small things that Australia do right here, and a lot of small things that the USA do wrong here, and they all help cause the turn. On the restart, the Aussies complete a couple nervy passes.
Trying to find a way back. Gets it to Kyle O. Gets it back to Lados. The Australians know this is a great opportunity, but they're being pushed back by...
And then Alex Gan undercooks a swing pass to little separation, and Freechild dives in for a block. I'm really not a fan of what Alex Lados does here when cutting for the swing pass from Gan. He initially is free, and when he's not immediately thrown to, he puts his arms out to signal, "Just throw me the disc, I'm open," and slows down. Freechild then cuts down the separation and is able to intercept the swing pass. This mistake is so frustrating because the pass before, Alex Gann does exactly the right thing as the cutter. He cuts back for the swing, is looked off because the thrower thinks he's not free enough, and then reacts to that by accelerating his cut and providing more separation to throw to. Another appropriate response to this fake is to change direction and accelerate hard into a new direction. That's not to say Gann doesn't deserve a good portion of the blame for this turn. His job is to throw a throw that the defense can't intercept. You could be more sympathetic if Gann overcooked the swing, not expecting Lados to slow down so much. After the Americans convert, the Aussies have to hold to stay in the game. On the second pass of this offense, Prentice just lofts this pass just over the head of Georgia Ewan Griffiths, and Jack Williams is the first defender on the scene to push the disc out of play.
The crowd go wild as Williams just ushers that disc to the ground, ushers it out of bounds. It's a turnover.
On the replay cam, you can see Ewan Griffiths actually gets fingertips to it, but can't quite close her palm around the disc to retain possession. The US convert and break for 12-10. Australia hold with a clutch grab from Liv Carr.
Who's going to be underneath? It's a big bid. And second time of asking at the back of the end zone. It's a goal called by Nate Goff. Incredible from Liv Carr.
And Jack Williams wins it for the Americans.
From Andrews, sends it into the end zone. Is this it? Williams is there. Williams collects. And the USA have won the World Games Ultimate Flying Disc Gold Medal.
It was a well-fought battle between the two teams, absolutely gutting for the Australians. I wonder how content they feel with that silver after the fact. And they did have the lead. They had the disc in hand at 10-10 after a well-worked turnover. It would have been interesting to see them convert that break chance and put the Americans on the back foot. Strategically, I thought that the Australian zone was really strong and perhaps worthy of a bit more use in the game, especially against the Freechild, Normal, Payne, Goff line, which I felt were a bit more likely to turn, getting carried away and throw. The Americans defended very well. I think they were clearly the best team at the tournament in match defensive coverage, and probably the best defensive team overall. In some possessions, I felt that the solid defensive pressure from the Americans, and especially the respect the Australians showed to that coverage, by accelerating hard to the backfield on unders, and accelerating through catches, increased the amount of passes needed to complete possessions. And when you're not moving forward, that thought of, can we score here with an easy option? Maybe I just need to take a shot into the end zone, creeps in. Even if you stay confident, the likelihood of an unforced error, which is really what killed the Australians' hopes, increases. Standout players for the US were Chastain, Williams and Mextroff for me. Tullett and Andrews were the strongest Aussie players in my opinion. I'm just so excited to see what this tournament is going to bring in 2025 in Chengdu. And let's not forget that we'll see the national teams competing in the World Ultimate Championships in 2024 on the Gold Coast. What a fantastic place for revenge that could be for the Aussies. I'm not quite out of things I want to talk about with the World Games yet, so stay tuned for some bonus pieces of analysis. If you've enjoyed this series, please consider signing up to our Patreon, link is in the description. And whilst you're there, also check out our apparel partner Double Happiness. Here's a sneak preview of some merch dropping soon. Patrons, make sure to keep an eye on the Discord. I'll see you all next time.